distinction of being the only player in the Arsenal starting lineup who didn't work under George Graham when the Leeds manager was in charge at Highbury. The Frenchman may come nearer than he expected today, though, to Ian Rush, who returns to the Leeds side after being left on the bench in midweek. The man Rush effectively replaces is Carlton Palmer, who has flu, so Leeds have had to reshuffle their formation. They're still without Tony Yeboah and Lee Sharp, and with 3 strikers now on the team sheet, they'll obviously hope to increase their modest goal output. Defensively, they've kept 10 clean sheets in the last 15 matches, and Nigel Martyn returns in goal after a back injury kept him out of the 0-0 draw with Derby. But he won't be troubled initially by Arsenal's prolific marksman Ian Wright, who starts on the bench after a hamstring strain sustained in midweek. So there's a recall for John Hartson, while Scott Marshall takes over in defence from Matthew Rose. Martin Keown and Dennis Bergkamp are still suspended, David Platt still injured. And the former Arsenal connection sustained by the presence on the Leeds bench of David O'Leary, George Graham's number 2 here now. Well, this looks like the biggest crowd at Ellen Road for quite some time. And in the first half, Arsenal will be playing right to left. That's a long ball from Tony Adams. And here's Gunnar Haller for Leeds, who play with the 3 men at the back and the 2 wing-backs. This is Molenaar, the Dutchman. A firm first kick by David Seaman. This is Paul Merson. Vieira. Lee Dixon. Merson again. He's got Radiver to beat. Oh, and a bit of a scramble there between Nigel Martyn and Stephen Hughes. Man in charge today, the familiar figure of David Ellery. Oh, that's well intercepted by Vieira for Arsenal. That's where he looks very elegant, the number 4, and that's where Parler can be dangerous, and it might run on here for Hartson, and Parler just got in front of him. Not an alike interference, but it was Parler who had the shot. But really, Patrick Vieira's interception and set-up play here did him great credit. Parler continued his run when Hughes crossed and got the shot underneath Hartson's feet. Oh, well played by Hartson. Oh, look at Vieira here. Oh, he's gone clean through, Patrick Vieira, and brought down. Whereabouts is the big question. But David Ellery doesn't even think it's a foul. He's run away. Arsenal are protesting. Steve Bold has a word. Parler up to the referee. It's Gunnar Haller who's the defender, and to be fair to Mr. Ellery, a great decision. Haller played the ball. Bold. Molenaar. Well, that was Bowyer on Hughes, and referee Ellery goes to his pocket, and he's going to book Lee Bowyer. Looks to me as though Winterburn is appealing on the Leeds players' behalf. Yellow card for this challenge by Bowyer on Hughes. Didn't look... Well, he pulled him a bit, didn't he? Merson takes. Bent in. Vieira's there. So's Parler here. Good effort. Good save. Well, that was a full, meaty volley from Ray Parler, who scored at West Ham on Wednesday. Must have thought that one was on its way as well for a moment, but Nigel Martyn pushes the ball up into the air. Vieira intercepted that again, has those telescopic legs which can often turn a loose ball into an Arsenal one. Here's Kelly. Bold watching the bounce. This is Haller to Bowyer. Oh, Dean's offside, surely. Yes. And he took it well enough, Brian Dean, but the flag was up on the near side. Well, this must have been a mighty close decision. Lee Bowyer is the man who supplies the pass. As he does so, Dean looks still to be onside, possibly he's level. The defender does then step up, which is probably what caught the linesman's attention. There, and appeals for offside, which they get. But Leeds may think themselves a little unfortunate there. George Graham just booking his table for dinner tonight. Dean, oh, that hit Tony Adams. Ian Rush, Dean goes again, offside again against Dean. That's twice now he's put the ball in the net. The Leeds fans have cheered and then had to gulp because the linesman flags again. Matt Rice nearer to the camera, and with his manager on the far side. Adams, Winterburn. That's Hughes' cross. Oh, well collected. To stretch out a bit there, Nigel Martin. And again, it's Hughes who sets up the play here, using both feet. There's plenty of potential in this match, but as regards the strikers, it hasn't been realised yet. It might be now. That is Parler. Hartson's in the middle, and Parler, a lovely little trick, and again Nigel Martin out. Oh, it was good to see that from Ray Parler. It was Gunnar Haller who he took on with a little trick here. Oh yes, that's terrific stuff, but the goalkeeper had seen him coming. So, the end of a well-contested first half, typical really of Leeds Arsenal fixtures. Perhaps the most central figure in an attacking sense, certainly for Leeds, was Brian Dean. Had a couple of efforts wiped out for offside, but as befits Leeds' scoring and defensive record, the half-time score is 0-0. So Leeds start the second half. Funny how often when teams are due to meet twice in League and Cup in quick succession, the first game's always a little cagey. But perhaps George Graham's presence down on the touchline might work the oracle for Leeds. Parler. Hartson. And now Dixon. Hartson and Hughes waiting in the centre. There's Hughes. Does take up some good positions from midfield. Over the head of Bold, now Adams. Oh, and he hit Brian Dean, the clearance by Scott Marshall. Still Dean. He's hanging on grimly. No mean effort, that. Well, he had a good first half, the big fellow. And that was sheer persistence. Surrounded by red shirts, working his way out of the corner. And the shot rising. Here's Dean. Rush is moving on well. So is Wallace here. Chance for Leeds. Oh, fine start by the England goalkeeper. He makes it look like a regular occurrence, even a save like this. But Wallace certainly had the acceleration to go past Adams. And Arsene Wenger Must be something to take for granted now, those kind of saves. Oh, it's a good ball from Steve Bold and from Vieira. Now then, played inside by Wright, and Parler's there for Arsenal. Unlucky. Really unlucky, Ray Parler. But Nigel Martin, as he picks him up, gets some credit because he came out so fast, Parler had to shoot quickly. This is Vieira to Ian Wright. What a good early ball by Wright, look. But Nigel Martin's on his way, and that really forced Parler into lifting it further than he would ideally have wanted to do. Rush. Dean. Wallace. Oh, Dean again for Leeds. The pullback. Oh, it's there. And who else? No, it's not. Ian Rush's goal is not going to stand. I paused as Mr. Ellery did then, as Rush peeled away because the arm was up, the flag was up, and I think they've been denied by the offside again. Well, it must have been mighty close. Brian Dean certainly sets the goal up, and Ian Rush in his predatory position, just perhaps ahead of Steve Bold. And if that's offside, well, it's very hard on Leeds. This is Dorigo with the cross, and Arsenal on their heels a bit here. If Leeds could scramble a shooting chance, it's Gary Kelly. Gray and Wallace waiting in the middle. Wallace! Oh, what a chance! What a chance! A good cross by Gary Kelly. And that was the last action of the afternoon, but Rod Wallace will feel he could have done better. And should have done, really. Leeds finished the match on a high note. Ian Rush thought he'd got the winning goal. The offside flag ruling that out. He still can't understand it. But David Ellery saw the linesman's flag. It wasn't the first time the ball had been in the net, but none of them counted in a 0-0 draw.
We made a solid performance. We could have scored, I think, in 2 or 3 occasions in every half. But finally, the point is not so bad because we had to fight very hard today.
I think the first goal that Brian Dean scored was onside. I think the linesman was ball watching, and when Dean finally received the ball, he looked offside. But it's when it was passed, he was onside.
That was by Bowyer, the pass.
Correct. And if there's an element of doubt, keep the flag down. And I would say that in every game, whether Leeds play or not, give the advantage to the attacking team, which means the forwards, and we'll get a much better game.
Well, let's take it on to the one in stoppage time then, when Rush put the ball in the net, because it has been confirmed that the flag was up for offside against Ian Rush when Brian Dean played the ball in.
Well, this is that Ian Rush was ahead of the defender. There's no question about that. You'll see that on the video. But is he level with Brian Dean when Brian Dean crossed the ball? That's the important thing. It's not that he was ahead of the defender. I think he was level. And if he was level with Brian Dean when he crossed it, it doesn't matter where the defenders are, he's onside.
I think it's psychologically very important us not to have lost today. Big cup game for us on Tuesday night, and looking forward to it.
I'm not sure I am. It was a bit dull this afternoon. It can only get better than that. But I suppose that's what George Graham in particular wants, wasn't it? First to get the defence right.
Yeah, that was his priority. I mean, when he went there, you've got to keep him in the Premiership and hopefully get a decent cup run there. Actually, today they played well at the back. I mean, the three who played, Gunnar Haller has been an excellent sign. I've seen him play midfield, wing back, and now in the back three for them, and he does, you know, extremely well whenever. Robert Molenaar is the big Dutch lad, uncompromising. I wouldn't like to meet him in a 50-50. And then, of course, you know, I think generally, if you look at the rest of the side, Lucas Radeby did a good marking job on Merson. They're very solid, but, you know, in attack at the moment, you know, they're not perhaps creating. But I think also, I have to say, the Ellen Road pitch is the worst surface. I've seen it for a long, long time. I can remember when it used to be a beautiful surface, and that doesn't help if you're trying to play a passing game. I mean, it'd be totally different at Highbury on Tuesday night.
George Graham wasn't enamoured by the 2 offside decisions. Can you clear them up for us?
Yeah, I think he was quite right, especially with the first one. I mean, you know, when Barry gets it, you can see it's Arsenal typically well organised at the back, but when it comes inside to him, Scott Marshall is actually going to step up to play the offside. But as Boyer plays it, he's definitely playing Dean on. And then, as George Graham said, when he receives it, he looks 2 or 3 yards offside, but there's no way that he was, and that was a good goal. The other one is harder to judge because of the angle eventually. I mean, Arsenal, unlike them, allow actually Brian Dean to sort of almost stumble his way through here between Ian Wright and Scott Marshall, and then Rod Wallace takes Tony Adams out of it. And as the ball is played, certainly Ian Rush is beyond bold, but is he square or behind? I think the ball seems to travel that little bit forward, and my gut feeling initially, and still is watching it, is that he was just offside. But the first one was definitely onside. So you can imagine the frustration, because there's so few chances when they come. Obviously, it's sort of magnified that you feel frustrated that it's cost you perhaps those extra 2 points.
As for Arsenal, no Dennis Bergkamp. Ian Wright for much of the game as well. They didn't threat too much, did they?
No, I think, I mean, they badly missed Ian Wright. Bergkamp, of course, likes to drop deep. But I think when you've got tight matches like this, more than anything, I always look for midfield players to try and break it up and get beyond the front men. I thought Ray Parlour did it twice superbly, but it's very frustrating if you're not seen. Now, here, you know, when they actually starts his run, you see John Hartson in the front of the picture. He's the key man, because here he goes Parlour through the middle, and now Hart's, he's got to give it now. His first touch, he's got it under control. Once he starts running with it, it starts to bobble, and then of course, you know, Parlour goes offside and it breaks down. But you know, it was such a simple ball, and it's so frustrating as a midfielder if you've ran 50 yards. And we saw an example. Funnily enough, Hartson was taken off a minute later. Ian Wright came on, and here you see Vieira feed Ian Wright, who picks up the ball well. And again, Parlour's ploughing through the middle. He gets a good early ball, and you have to say well done to Nigel Martin, who's just distracted Parlour. But you know, I think you need midfield players, and Vieira and Parlour do work extremely hard. And there were 2 occasions there where they could and perhaps should have certainly ended up with 1 goal.
It's about awareness, really.
Yeah.
Alan, I mean, we're bemoaning the fact there's a lack of goals, but sometimes we should give the keepers credit, shouldn't we?
Yeah, 2 very good keepers today, obviously. David Seaman's a great keeper, but Nigel Martin's been really impressive. I think he's in top form in every department of the game. England have got 4 goalkeepers in the squad. I think he's pressing very, very closely from one of those positions.
It's like the good old days, lots of good English keepers.